Hi everybody, this is the baseball highlight, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion. Yo, host of Hard, welcome back to the baseball highlight. Hopefully you like this video and hit that subscribe button. So we're back here at the baseball highlight. We're going to talk about some, about Pete Alonso, who did not win the home run derby on Monday at the All-Star game, but he's very important to the Mets, as you know, and what happens with him in the offseason will determine a lot of stuff going forward. But before we get into this video, if you're watching the video for the first time or you're watching the video, turn it on, write to me. Tell me where you're from. I hail from Queens, if you must know. That's where I'm from originally. And just let me know where you're from, and let me know if you're the first to watch the video. It'd be great. Also, if you're not on X, and if you're not on Facebook or any other platform, hit the subscribe button so you know what's going on with the Mets, and you get it in an entertaining, an unpredictable fashion here, because I will say anything if I think it's funny or entertaining. Let's get into this article and see where this goes. From the Bleacher Report, Mets Pete Alonso wants to stay in New York amid MLB trade rumors. Quote, "I love it. It's home." As you know, the word was that the Mets tried to sign Pete last year during the season, and he turned down a contract. And the Mets decided to shop him a little bit before the trade deadline. They shopped him a little bit, see if there was any kind of interest, and they pulled him back. They didn't move him. There was all kinds of rumors in the offseason. There've been all kinds of rumors during the season that the Mets were going to move him, specifically when they were 9-19 in May, but that did not happen. Thank God. The Mets turned the season around. Thank God. And we thank God for bringing the Mets out of that abyss, that hole that they were in May. Because at one point they were 11 games under 500, and now they are back. 3 games above 500 with the third wild card spot. But we still have 67 games to go. We need to get there still. And but Pete, as you know, they pulled him back. He's not going to be traded right now. With 2 weeks left before we get to the trade deadline, which is on July 30th. And here we are. So here we go with the article. As the New York Mets decide on what direction they want to take leading up to the trade deadline, Pete Alonso is making it clear he hopes to stay in Queens. The word is the Mets might do both. They might sell and they might buy, with the intention of trying to get to postseason this year. Owners laid down the gauntlet. He wants his team in postseason. David Stearns, the Mets president of baseball operations, says he wants to get the postseason this year. That is their goal. So far, it's looking pretty good. Speaking to reporters prior to the home run derby on Monday, Alonso said he wants to stay with the Mets. Quote, "I don't want to get traded. I love it. It's home." Well, that's great. And Pete's been very consistent on that. But, obviously, he turned down the contract from last year. Now, if you look at the way things have been, the fact that his production has not been nearly as good as it's been. And to be honest with you, he's not had a hot streak yet. I mean, he really hasn't had a week or two where he's gotten really hot to where you can't get him out. His average has been okay. Like as a base, all his numbers are very good as baseline numbers. But he hasn't had a hot streak yet to where it will take him back to where his career average is. So he's under the career average right now with 67 games left. Now, the one thing about going to the All-Star break is there's a lot of running around. Hopefully he's not tired when the Mets come back on Friday. Alonso's name has come up in trade rooms recently, but the Mets' recent success may have changed their plans leading up to the deadline. So much of the media has been trying to trade Pete and have been trying to sort of discredit him. In particular, WFAN has been running him into the ground for over a year. New York is 25-13 since June 1st, after being as many as 11 games under 500 in May. This surge has moved the team into the final wildcard spot in the National League. The National League playoff picture is a mess right now, with 6 teams within 3.5 games, including 3 within 1.5 games of the Mets for the last spot. If the Mets don't view this roster as a World Series contender, there's an argument to move players who can become free agents this offseason to add talent that can help them in 2025 and beyond. That's a bit strong. The Mets haven't talked about being a World Series contender. They talked about being in the postseason. That's different. It can be hard to sell that message to players and fans when the team is currently in playoff position. From the Athletics' Jim Bowden, the Astros have had conversations with the Mets about Alonso. Alonso and Luis Severino are the most obvious trade candidates on New York's roster. Both players are set to hit the market after the season. USA Today's Bob Nightingale reported last month that Alonso will be seeking at least $200 million on a long-term contract and free agency. Joel Sherman of the New York Post reported earlier this year that Alonso rejected a 7-year, $158 million extension from the Mets. He signed a 1-year, $20.5 million deal in January to avoid arbitration. Alonso spent his entire professional career in the Mets organization since being a second-round draft pick in 2016. Obviously, we know he made his debut in 2019, led the league in led baseball in home runs, and had set the rookie record. At the Post, a 261, 349, 535 slash line, averaging 36 homers in his first 4 seasons. His offensive output has declined since the start of 2023. He owns a 226 slash line with 318 on base and a 484 slugging percentage in his last 249 games. Now, the biggest number to me that is a concern is that batting average. Because I've said in other videos that a hitter, when they're in a decline, you're going to start to see the batting average wane. The power's still there, but the batting average tends to wane with a power hitter. I can give you a couple examples. I know people say it's because these guys are catchers, but they can go across the line. Mike Piazza, the one thing if you notice with his numbers with the Mets, the power numbers from 98 to 2002 were pretty consistent. Was that batting average began to drop. Gary Carter, who was with the Mets at the tail end of his career, the thing that was noticeable was his batting average. In 1983, he hit 292. Or 293. In 1984, he hit 294. In 1985, his first year with the Mets, he hit 281. And then in 1986, he hit 255. And then in 1987, he hit 236. The batting average dropped. The power was still kind of there in 87, but that's something to keep an eye on. And they were right-handed hitters, relatively the same age as Pete. Now, Pete's batting average has begun to decline. And he's a first baseman, which is very surprising that it's begun to decline in age 28, 29. Now, he has had a history of wrist injuries. So I don't know if that has, and this goes even to college, and I think in high school too. And he had an injury like that in, I think his first year with the Mets in the minor leagues. So he has this propensity of getting hit on the wrist a lot of times. And I don't know if that's, been a reason why that has happened, but be that as it may, that's something to keep an eye on. The overall batting average is not a big deal, but decline in the average is a concern of mine. But it's great to see that Pete's attitude about being here is good. Because he could just say, screw it, they're not going to give me a contract, the hell with it. I mean, Pete's a bit of a big goofball, But the power numbers were ferocious. And they've been ferocious since he's gotten here. The Mets have to get him hot. They have to get hot. Once he gets hot, those numbers are going to go up very, very quickly. But we need to play the 67 games to get there. Now, you let me know what you think about this video. Also, again, if you're the first to watch it, and even if you're not the first to watch it, let me know where you're from. Let me know where you're from. I'm originally from Queens, and let me know if you're the first to watch it. And, of course, thank you for watching, again. And if you're not on X and you're not on Facebook, hit the subscribe button so you know what's going on with the Mets, everyday stuff. And it doesn't matter what it is, not big stuff. There's a lot of chances to do the big stuff. I'm going to do everything here now. I made that decision. And we're going to have a lot of videos here. There was no vacation for the Hut in the All-Star break or in the offseason. You're going to get a lot of stuff here. And I think this is the best Mets channel. And I want to thank you for watching. Have a good day. And I'll see you later.